Alright, welcome back to Old White Mercury. Ran into a couple things here. My son was here earlier. We were videotaping, putting this cover plate back on for the transmission pawls and stuff. And we were just finishing that up, like literally putting the screws on, and the camera shut off. So I just found out there's a button on the side I gotta watch out for. But we don't think that's what happened. He started checking things out and realized he said he thinks I ran out of storage. So we deleted a few things, and hopefully that's going to solve that problem. Speaking of problems, so I got this back together, and I put my crankshaft, the old crankshaft I used to turn this drive shaft. Like I say, you can use a pair of pliers or something. A lot of times when I get this part back together, and like I said earlier, the shift is here on this handle. I like to make sure everything's working fine, and it wasn't. We had forward, and then I made an adjustment on the shift lever, which is under this bracket, and then we had neutral, but I couldn't get reverse. And what ended up happening was I had to take this thing apart, and let's see if we can get you a good look at that. You'll see the spring here, and this comes up, this piece comes up right here, okay? And then this plate here is separate. Right here, I can kind of move this back and forth right here. You see that? Well, what happened is I had it up against here when I put this together. I completely forgot about this slot that it has to go up inside of here. Just totally forgot about it. So I had it up against over here. So I corrected that. Our shimming and everything like that is fine because the springs weren't on there. It's just when I put this back together, it should have been in that slot. That's the only one on this ring. There's openings on here for the pawls to grab a hold of. But anyway, I fixed that. That took care of that. Actually, I'm going to leave this right here. That took care of that problem. So now we got forward, neutral, reverse. Let's see. So the next thing is there's the centrifugal slinger, which is just it's kind of like a fat O-ring. I'm sure you've seen them before. Goes over the drive shaft, and it slides down the drive shaft till it hits the base down there, and that's where the water pump's in there, our plate's in there, and there's an opening for the drive shaft to come through, and that slinger just helps keep I'm sure it helped keep the water from sliding up through there, squirting up through there, I should say. There's a couple of things I wanted to show you, so let me grab this light and set this over here so this is ready. Don't mind this fuel line. I hooked that up before I wanted that on there before we put the power head on. So let's see. Just gotta make sure I don't hit this one button here. So I'm gonna bring you over here. You're gonna see I put never sees on the top of the drive shaft here. You can kind of see the O-ring there. Let's see if we get. Yeah, you can kind of see the O-ring on there. And then this slinger, if we can get some light in there and kind of see what that looks like. I come around. I just had it a second ago. There it is. So you can kind of see that piece sticking out. Almost, I don't know, on the camera, it looks like a purplish color with this light. That's that slinger. And you can see somewhat, I don't know how much that's going to show up, but you can kind of see an opening there. So I just have to push that down a little bit further. There we go. And that'll take care of that. The other thing I wanted to show you is right here. Let me put this light down because we don't need it. This piece right here. Okay. This right now appears to be flush right here. Alright, the power head's going to sit on here. This is where our water comes up from our pickup. And I found what happens is there's an O-ring underneath here, and that tends to get crushed, and next thing you know, this ends up being level. And I always wonder how well that's actually sealing when the power head sits on there. So, and actually, I think if I can bring you over here, I got the power head cleaned off. It sits right here. And then this here is our telltale, or a lot of us call it the pee hole. I always take a piece of mechanics wire or something, run that up and down in there, and make sure that's clean. And I usually take a tiny screwdriver and clean this up as best I can. There's actually a little hole down in there. It's not going to show up, I doubt. But there's a tiny little hole down in there that I'll use the mechanics wire to make sure that's clean too. And of course, I cleaned off the base, made sure all the studs are cleaned. So that part's good to go. So what I'm going to do, and meanwhile, if you guys want to get again, it's up to you with the part numbers, if you're writing them down, whatever you want to do, because I'm going to give you some more part numbers here after. So that's up to you. But, there, that should work. And you can find them on websites too. I think, if I say marine engines, you can get the diagram in it. Once you look up the motor, you'll be able to see the diagram and figure out the part numbers and all that. But I just figured I'd give them to you anyway. So I'm just going to push this down the rest of the way here. I was going to do it, and I thought, you know what? I wanted you to be able to see that down in there. So hopefully you got a good enough view. So it's blocking that up. And a lot of times I pull these apart and this thing's not even on here. And I can see why. It's kind of a pain to put on there, but okay. Actually, maybe what I'll do is I'll just turn this part away. Make sure I can't get the screwdriver at the other side of it. So right there. Okay. Now, let's pull this piece out. Okay. There's a little washer down in here. I think they call it actually a locating washer. It kind of holds the pickup tube where it belongs. And then, let's see here. So, we got the sleeve. That'll come off. And you can hardly even see it. But I'll pull it apart. That thing's crusty. Yeah, that's in rough shape. Okay. So here's that O-ring I was talking about. And it's old, it's really hard, it's brittle, it broke. And then you got this, which the bottom of it's a little crushed in, but there's the top. But this is going to be fine. They don't make these anymore. I'm trying to remember the number off the top of my head, but you can find them. I replace them usually on the Mark 10s. They stick up out of there. When I was just showing that to you, this was like flush in there. On the Mark 10s, this whole thing almost sits up. So when you go to drop the power head on there, you gotta you gotta kind of be careful. It'll go. Actually, the power head's got an opening on it, and it kind of goes up in there. It's a little tricky. But I've got a new O-ring for this, and I'm gonna put it on there, just if it helps us out. Anything to push this thing up a little. There's the part number. If I can get this. Here we go. 25-62704. So let's put this on there. So this O-ring is going to slide down over this tube down to that washer I was telling you about. They say they call it a locating washer. I'll just use this. Just like that. Should be able to set that on there. Yeah. I'll bet you if I replace that rubber grommet there, would probably sit up a little bit higher too, but it's all right. It is higher now, so I'll just slide the sleeve over it. All right, now it's sitting up a little bit higher, so that's good. I'm happy about that. Now at least I know that's going to be tight up to the motor or the power head, whatever. Okay. Then you see we got see if I can show you this on here. A couple different things. We've got the O-ring right here and the centrifugal slinger. Okay, that's what I was showing you initially there. That O-ring is part 25-26802. There you see it. 26802. And then the slinger is right below that. 12-20684. So those are those two parts. And that works on your Mark 10, Mark 28, 100, all that stuff. And one other number as long as we're at it. You got that gasket, the gasket that goes on here. You can still find these. They don't make them anymore, but you can find them. I don't think I mentioned that in the other video, 48. So the number on that is 27-26818. And then the gasket for the power head for this motor, and for most of them, is let me get to that page here. Let me use this book because it's going to have the Mark 10 one on there. This gasket, this number I'm going to give you, That one's the most common one right here. You can see the picture there. That's the most common one. Matter of fact, I think that fits just about everything except for, I'll tell you right now, 12. Yeah, it does. Yeah. So that gasket with the opening on it, right there, that fits everything but the Mark 10. And that gasket number is 27-28132. And the one for the Mark 10 is 27-26806. And of course, I'm sure some of you guys probably might prefer to make your own for that, but so I think the next thing to do, that's all set. This is all set. I like to put this in reverse for this part because there's an arm right here. Let's see if I can show it to you. There's an arm right there, and I can drop it down out of the way, and it's just one less thing to have to worry about. It's right there. So see how it was sticking up. Now it's below the surface because you can see that gasket's going to be in behind there. So it just makes it a little easier, I think anyway, to have that out of the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to butter up this gasket, and then we're going to get our power head on. Hopefully that should be all right. I don't know what's going to happen, but I got a line on a Mark 10 actually. Actually, the guy had a couple Mark 28s. I couldn't tell from the pictures if it was a Mark 28A. No, actually, it had to be a Mark 28 because it had a red cover. Unless somebody painted it. So I left the guy a message, and then he finally got back to me, and evidently I didn't pay attention to how old the ad was, but it was evidently posted a month or so ago, and there was actually two of them. One didn't have the cover on it, and I missed out on that, so those are both gone. He's got a Mark 20 there. I believe it was a Mark 20. I couldn't tell from the front of the cover. It didn't show the front of the cover, but you got to get into some special tools to do those. And as much as I wouldn't mind having one, I've passed one up on one before, and I'm gonna pass up on this one too. I primarily like playing around with these, so I don't know. I was thinking, I think it's been sitting a long time, and I was tempted to get it. And hopefully, it's not seized up. I might take a ride out there tomorrow and check it out, but kind of be like a will it start video type thing, I guess. And it actually gives a good idea of what I normally would do to a motor that's been sitting for a long time. Just not that there's a whole lot to it per se. Everybody's got their own little way of doing things, and but I'll see what he says. He's got a lot of spare parts too, I guess, a whole trailer full of parts. So I'd be curious to see what that is. But and then another thing too is there's an old boat show coming up here in the area at a local marina. I actually go there quite a bit for parts, and they'll have a lot of old wood boats there and things like that. That's on May 4th. So hopefully it doesn't rain and they can get it in. And I'd like to see that. I haven't gone the last few years, and I didn't go last year. I don't even know if they had it. And before that, with COVID and everything, um, they didn't have it. So I'm gonna plan on being there. I actually talked to the owner of the marina. If I can work it out with my boys, I'm gonna bring over one of these engine stands, set up some motors over there. And like I say, people just don't see these. I actually ran that one that's kind of souped up. I ran that over there about 4 years ago, and I'm just on my rowboat, and boy, there was quite a few guys got a kick out of that thing. They saw me coming in. I had my neighbor with me, and that thing flies, and so that got a lot of attention. And I was really impressed with some of the older guys, how they knew what year it was, what it was. I was really impressed. Because a lot of people just don't usually know, I guess. But all those guys are in their 70s now for the most part. So, but so I'm gonna try to make it over to that. I'll try to get some videos of that. And I think that'll be interesting. I like watching those videos myself when they get out there and run those old boats around and whatnot. So yeah, that's all set. One of the things I did, I took the spark plugs out of the power head so that when we go to set this on here, I can turn the power head till it lines up with that drive shaft. So makes it a little easier. Something else I wanted to mention, if you go to get parts for these and you're dealing with your a local Mercury dealer, maybe the guy. Obviously, a lot of people watching these videos probably do a lot of this themselves. That's one of the reasons I just tackled this, because there's not a lot of that out there. But at any rate, and I don't know that they all can do it, but if you're looking for a part that you can't find that's NLA, your Mercury guy can, like I say, you probably gotta be spending a little money there once in a while, but because it's got to be a pain for them, but they can actually look up the part through a website. As far as I know, it's still active. I haven't asked anybody in the last few years because I usually find the parts anyways, and I probably actually kind of forgot about it, but you can ask the Mercury, you can ask about the parts. Oh, it's no longer available. And then you can ask if they have access to a website. It's for exclusive for like the Mercury dealer, so they can actually punch in that part number on that site, and they'll be able to see what Mercury dealers might have that in stock. And I've done that. I've had a guy that's helped me out with that before, and that worked out really well for finding at least a couple of things that I just couldn't find anywhere. Probably the only drawback maybe to some of that is that when COVID hit and everything was shut down, maybe some of you guys noticed this, but I know I was looking for a bearing for the longest time and I couldn't find it. And all of a sudden, COVID hits, the marinas, everything's closed. The marinas are going through their parts. That's NLA, that's NLA. Loading it up on eBay and selling this stuff. All of a sudden, about 12, 14 of those bearings showed up. So I was actually able to get my hands on a few, so I was pretty stoked about that. But anyway, yeah, your local. I think I'll have access to looking up NLA parts. The guy I was dealing with, he would just print up a paper and say, there's like 10 or 12 marinas that have it. Could be down in Georgia, it could be wherever. And, I would just start calling them and then order the part. So it worked out all right for me. But So I think we're all set to go here, guys. I mean, this is kind of like the last part of it is getting this thing on here. I'm trying to remember about this. If this, I don't think. Let's see. I'm in reverse. So okay, yeah, I think I'd rather have that over that way. So I got it in reverse and I got it all the way over for the throttle. So let's grab this monster. When you go to set this on here, the back studs are a little longer. So you're going to want to basically get that started first. There it goes. I just had to turn the flywheel a little bit. Oh boy, I haven't seen this thing together like this in it's got to be 3 years. Okay. Love it. Finally. And then we got our nuts here. These are 7/16. There's 3 on each side. I was telling you that in the first video. Back 2 here aren't too bad. Let's get started. The front one, however, is a little tricky. Because you can, if it doesn't, it's a little tough to get it turning. And there's a hole right there, it'll fall down in here. I've had it happen and then I end up tipping the thing over and shaking it out of there, and it's a pain. But let's hope that doesn't happen today. So, future video. I guess it'd be nice to move on to another motor, but I'm just glad we're done with this transmission video thing. However many this can end up being, I got to try to put what we're doing now with what we did this morning. I'm not sure how to do that. I tried it with I actually took a couple of videos and was trying to splice it together somehow with what I can do on the phone, and I'm not real good with the phone. You know what? I'm going to move over. I feel better doing it this way. But the next thing I'm going to do is we're going to pull this fuel pump. We're going to pull this carburetor, rebuild this carburetor that hasn't been done yet. There's a needle in seat in here. We're going to do that. I always change the needle in seat because they're always the old style ones. The new ones are different, and they're more for the ethanol fuel. So I change them. Unless for some reason I pull it apart and see it's already been done, and I've never had that happen. So, yeah, I always end up changing them. So we'll do that. Now, I know they're easy to rebuild. These are the Tilliston carbs. Should say it on here. Yeah, right there. Tilliston carbs. They use these for a long time. I think the last year was somewhere around 73 or 4. Maybe 5. I'm not sure. I haven't really worked on anything. I had an 85. They went to a different carburetor somewhere around there. 4 or 5, 74 or 5, somewhere in there, I think. So there's quite a few of these around. And I'll show basically setting up the float drop. Once we change the needle and seat, we'll do all that. But yeah, so I think we covered everything. Like I said, we'll do the carburetor next week. Then we got to get into this, see if we got spark. Probably more than likely pull the flywheel. A lot of times I pull these, and again, they haven't been touched in so long. I pulled it, I guess you call it the stator plate off. And I've seen guys, there's clamps on here. They take the clamps off. You don't have to do that. When you get this disconnected, you can actually turn this plate far enough, and then it should lift off. Because if you start messing, you can mess with those plates, but it's kind of a pain. But I clean them off, and there's a couple plates in there that you can grease. It just makes the throttle work easier. So a lot of times I do it, but that'll be coming up soon doing that. I'm going to leave this right here. I'm going to finish this up afterwards. But yeah, finally, there it is. So we'll get the carb. I'm going to show you how I do these lines. We'll get into these. This is ethanol friendly. I've mentioned something about this earlier in one of the earlier videos. Where I'm at, even our marina is we don't have any non-ethanol fuel around, so unfortunately we have to deal with it. I guess unless if I went way down in Connecticut, maybe I could find. I think I can find it down there. You get near the shore, you know, there's probably some more boats and stuff, so you probably could get it. But so unfortunately, I got to deal with it. I've been lucky so far. I mean, I really haven't had any issues. I just, like I said, I put these lines on, and then I do something different with these fittings. So we'll get into that. I don't know if I'll have any part numbers for you on that, but you go to your local auto parts store, and you can find stuff. I do save these, but the rest of them, I change everything out. So we'll that'll be coming up in the next video. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this is going to help somebody out if they end up with one of these motors, or they got one and can't find somebody to change it. Because I know of at least one guy, and he didn't want anything to do with it, and I really can't blame him. So I had to kind of figure it out myself. But alright guys, enjoy the video. Hope you're enjoying the videos, I should say, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching.